everyone, Jane here. Today I'd like to discuss some medical terminology. I know I'm not covering all of them, but this really came to my attention when I was diagnosed with Cushing's syndrome. And some of the medical terminology really appeared to be very dehumanizing, even especially with that disease. And why am I showing a buffalo? Because they would uh, describe this condition with Cushing's as having a buffalo hump. Does she look like a buffalo? She has nothing to do with a buffalo. How about a fat pad on the shoulders? And another one that they would say is that people with Cushing's would have a moon face. Now there's an artistic rendition of the moon. Here's the real moon. And this woman had steroid-induced Cushing's. And does her face look like a moon? No, it's rounded out, yes. But she most certainly doesn't look like a moon. Okay, so those kind of things were a bit disturbing to me. And I'm embarrassed to say I came up with my own um, bad verbiage is that, my arms and legs became pencil thin. So I describe myself as having pencil arms and legs. Shame on me, right? Uh, but it's not as bad as a buffalo hump, okay? It's demeaning. Which brings us to current times. Now, there's a couple of words that have come into our lexicon that I found pretty offensive, and one is herd immunity. Now, here's a herd of sheep, or I guess it's a flock of sheep. But cattle does come in herds. And no, we are not cattle, okay? We are families and extended families, whether it be a few or more. And I love this picture. There's the parents with their children and their spouses and their grandchildren. And grandparents should not be isolated, okay, gang? It's an important part of life is to have family and extended family. We also have community. We could have community immunity, that's kind of a mouthful, but how about crowd immunity? Instead of this ridiculous term of calling us an animal term of being a herd.
I just want you to know that I miss you and I love you. Can't wait for this shit show to be over so that I can touch people, drink with people, and have the best life.
Okay, so now we have people wearing masks and keeping their quote social distance. What is up with this? That's a whole new word in our lexicon. You used to say you would have your elbow room, or, if you will, your personal space. Now, I've noticed in different cultures they have a different amount of elbow space. And yes, I'm from Arizona, and no, I'm not talking about Mexicans. It's a different culture and a different part of the country. They just allowed for less elbow room. Um, so it's another new medical word in our lexicon. It's just kind of sad that the medical imposes these new terms and conditions in our living where it takes our own common sense out of the picture. Not cool. And a couple additional thoughts on common sense is that my grandchildren were really sick with colds and coughs and fever at Christmas, so we had the common sense to postpone me visiting for Christmas by 2 or 3 weeks. So we had Christmas in January, and they had a second Christmas. Okay, so then all this epidemic stuff came along, and in the meantime, I had a new grandchild born. And of course, I wanted to visit, and I didn't break any rules by visiting my family and my son's extended family, so there were quite a few people there. And did anybody hesitate hugging each other? Did I hesitate holding my new grandbaby? No. Everybody was feeling well. We love one another, and we will express our love for one another by being together and enjoying each other's company, our family. Okay. Quite possibly the worst medical terminology is to call a human being a vegetable, or they've gotten a little more politically correct by calling it a vegetative state. But there's no human on earth who has anything to do with being made out of a vegetable. And it reminds me of what happened with Terri Shiavo. If you haven't heard of her, I'll link to some videos. But she had some brain injury that put her in that condition, handicapped. I'm not going to call her a vegetable. She responded beautifully to music, and they killed her by withdrawing her feeding tube, which was her food and water. So they starved her to death and dehydrated her to death. Sorry to leave this on a sour note, but that is by far the worst medical terminology even possible.
And in 1998, as her legal guardian, he filed a petition to end her life. But that decision put him fiercely at odds with Terri's parents, Bob and Mary Schindler, who fought all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to keep their daughter alive.
It is with great sadness that it's been reported to us that Terri Shiavo has passed away.